Well, first, they came for the masks, to borrow the vernacular of those who have been so opposed to any sort of pandemic protocols. Opposed to limited gatherings, opposed to shutting down businesses temporarily, opposed to wearing face coverings indoors. They've been a vocal group, rallying, protesting, even performing political stunts like burning of masks. Remember the references to essential workers and yellow stars? A nod to Nazi Germany to elicit emotion for their cause. Well, those moments were called inappropriate and insensitive by a lot of people, including the Wassmuth Center for Human Rights in Boise. Well, then they came for the vaccines. And maybe you've seen this floating around social media lately, last few days. A memorial and vigil planned for September 25th for the victims of vaccines being put together by the our Health Idaho Freedom people. Yes, this is what they said. Victims of vaccines. It says there's one in North Idaho and another one scheduled for 10 a.m. at the Anne Frank Memorial in downtown Boise. And they're even offering to sell you a T-shirt with the phrase, "Stop shooting us," surrounding a picture of a syringe there. Clearly a reference to the Black Lives Matter marches from more than a year ago. Only here's the problem. The Health Freedom Idaho folks didn't bother to ask permission to use the Anne Frank Memorial. And the Wassmuth Center put out this post this morning. Contrary to what you've seen posted, there is no vigil in the Anne Frank Memorial, Human Rights Memorial, on September 25th. The memorial was previously scheduled for another event. And apparently they're planning on hosting some tree fort events that day as well, and they're also scheduled for some regular maintenance of the memorial. So if you're planning on attending this vigil downtown, don't. Besides, according to Dan Prinzing with the Wassmuth Center, to host an event with such a divisive group in a place that is supposed to represent the common good, well, what kind of message would that send?
An exact message that is not the memorial, nor would we ever endorse or condone within the space. Using or co-opting messages from the Holocaust, or in the case of an organization, co-opting from Black Lives Matter, critical movements, and trying to use this as a fundraising opportunity. The memorial is a place where we come together. The memorial is a place where we come for hope, where we bring a community together. To me, that speaks to the very nature and the very heart of what our community is. How do we treat one another? Well, as I say, this is not a space where we come in to create a divisive action that is both intended to inflame, but also to mock what is very much a reality for those whose family history was the Holocaust, or today, whose family has been impacted by a pandemic.
Dan told us he tried to reach out to Health Freedom Idaho, but his emails bounced back and he couldn't get them to answer his phone calls. We also tried to ask their members a few questions, but our requests also went unanswered. One of them even reposted the vigil announcement by adding they will be in attendance because they, quote, lost someone to the COVID jab, end quote. And since we get this question a lot, we went back to the VAERS website. You know, that's the website where anyone can post any adverse effects of any vaccine, verified or not. And according to VAERS, Idaho has had 16 adverse events caused by COVID vaccines that were posted there. 12 of those 16 were reported as deaths, according to VAERS. And that seems like a big deal. 12 deaths in Idaho? Well, we reached out to Idaho's Department of Health and Welfare because if Idaho had even one death from a COVID vaccine, well, that would be a big deal, and we'd likely hear a lot about it. They told us they are not aware of any credible reports of deaths for Idaho residents directly caused by any of the COVID vaccines. And we learned yesterday from the largest hospital in North Idaho, that's Kootenai Health, one of those 10 now under crisis standards of care because of the overwhelming number of COVID patients. They haven't had any patient admitted because of adverse effects from the vaccine. But they now have 111 COVID patients admitted in their hospital, up from 108 yesterday. And 97% of those are unvaccinated.